Welcome, I'm your host, Nate Barger. Welcome to my channel. Today we're gonna talk about one of the easiest ways to make money, inflation, how to become wealthy when inflation rears its head. Some people call and say inflation is an ugly head, but it may be Medusa for some, but it may be beautiful for other people, depending on what you own. So I wanna go back and I wanna show you some graphs and show you what you can expect, the type of money you can either expect to make or lose if you take advantage of this inflationary cycle that we're in. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, hit the like button. We're gonna give you updates anytime we got some new game coming out to help you accelerate your bank account. So here's what we got, guys. Here's why I want you to BRRRR. Here's why I want you to own properties. Let's say we went back to 2010. Your average rent was about $800, let's say, based off this chart. Let's see what your median monthly rent was in 2010. It was $810. What if you would have bought a property back then? You were BRRRRing a property, you were making $100, $200 a month. Today, that property would be making that $200 plus $300 more, but it would probably be doing a little bit better than that because you locked in a low interest rate. So, that's part of the equation, but here's where you really make your money at. In 2010, that property was the average median home price was $215. Now it's $336. So if we take 200 and we divide it by 336, let's see what that is. It's up 59%. So even if you only had a $100,000 house, it's up 60 grand. You made 60,000, let's say, divided by 120 months. That's 500, plus you got 500 cash flow, plus you got principal reduction. Man, overall, that house that you owed $100,000, that you bought for $100,000, that's worth $150, that's bringing you in $500 a month in passive income, you probably only owe $65,000 on right now. So how do we know that it's a good time to buy? How do we know that the market's not overbuilt? Here's one of the key things that we look at, guys. And again, you could be in a state like Ohio and the market could be totally overbuilt. You could also be in that same state 100 miles away and you could be just way underbuilt. So part of the way you look at that is your vacancy. So look at this, guys. Anybody that was in real estate could see that through the 70s, if you would have graphed the chart, you would have said, look at all this housing. Look at this. Q1, 2004, we had a 10% vacancy. We were running 10% vacancies right before the crash. And bam, you had this crash. And right about here, you know why the crash went down so suddenly? Number one, all buildings stopped. But number two, millennials hit 30 years old in 2010. So we knew those were going to be the people that were coming out buying their first house. So look at this. Vacancy dropped. So everybody's saying, hey, there's going to be a housing correction. It's all supply and demand. Right now, we are running a 6.8, which is probably a good 50-year average on where we should be at. So if we start seeing this vacancy tick up, then I would say, you know what, we're starting to get overbuilt. But what does it take to overbuild? It takes building new properties or having a massive part of your population die off, neither which we see coming right now. Why? Because lumber prices are super high. Everything's super high right now. But why? Because wages have got to go up. The government needs inflation. What that means ultimately long-term, let me show you this chart. What that means long-term to me is that, look at this, guys. If you would have bought a house back in 1990, your average rent was $447. 1980, your average rent was $243. 1970, your average rent was $108. Look at these jumps that we had in the late 70s. 77, you had a 10%, a 8.7, an 8.5, 11.9, 11.5, a 7.75, 8.2. Do you guys know why we had them type of jumps? Because our economy was moving so fast, the government had to come and raise interest rates to slow down the economy. I think myself that we're poised to see the same type of stuff going forward. Why? Quite simple. the government needs inflation to get out of debt. They cannot get out of debt with inflation. So right now they're borrowing money. They got a $22 trillion GDP. We're almost $30 trillion in debt. So they need their GDP to grow. They can't do it by getting people to work. They can't do it by producing more goods and services. So the only thing that they have left to do is what? You guessed it. Make everything cost more. Then our GDP can go from 22 trillion to 50 trillion. Then they can continue to service the debt. But how can you take advantage of that? You can buy property right now, lock in very low interest rates for 30 years because interest rates are going to go up. Let's go back to this graph and see what happens when interest rates go up. 1980, we were at 20% interest rates. Look at this. 12% rent growth a year. Now, just think if you would have locked in good long-term debt when it was low in the 60s or 70s, and you're just riding this thing out, you're just making more money. So everybody thinks that we're going to go for a housing crisis. We could, and inevitably we will. There are always housing bubbles. Everything's a bubble. Oil's a bubble. Energy's a bubble. So I don't want to sit here and tell you that it's not. But I want to tell you that looking at these charts, I don't see an oversupply right now. And I know it costs more to build than ever before, so we can't build. We're 2.5 million houses short right now. We're only building about 1 million a year. And every year we're not making a dent in that 2.5 million because our absorption rate, we need more houses coming online to even keep up with all the demand we have with all these millennials. So I think, me personally, if you know what cities to buy in, what drivers to buy around, and how to use inflation as your friend, you can buy these properties down here and they're going to go up here, guys. And you can buy the rents down here and they're going to go up there. So that's why I want you guys to buy property, BRRRR property, because I think we have a long 10, 15 year run where we're going to be able to make a lot of money in real estate. Not necessarily concerned with does the housing prices go up or down. I'm concerned with the rent. And I'm concerned with locking in long-term debt is I don't think rent will slide. I don't think if we go back and look at this chart, rent sliding is actually, let's see if it ever slid. We know it slid. Okay, we went 27, 42, 71. Okay, we're gonna start here in 73. 133, 142, 156, 67, 84, 200, 217, 243, 271, 292, 316, 332, 339, 59, 99. 414, 424, 447. So guys, look at this. There's little to no slippage. I know the chart we were looking at early showed a little bit, but I think this is the median monthly rent. This one is adjusted for vacancy. So wouldn't it have been nice to buy all the way down here at 808 and be at 1104? I think you're going to be saying the same thing over the next 10 years. Here's another graph to give you an idea, guys. Look at this. $27 rents in 1940. That house was probably worth $3,000. Today, that house rents out for $1,104. That house is worth $300,000. Look, you just got to own assets. You can leverage assets. Inflation is your friend if you own a lot of property. I think it's coming. Many people think it's coming. So get out here, join the BRRRR group, subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and we're going to show you everything you know to create massive wealth through this inflationary cycle we're going through. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, Nate Barger on YouTube, and hit the bell, and you'll be notified on any new videos that come out.